Good evening, everybody. Those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat its mistakes. And, well, have a listen to this clip. I came across it by chance, but I don't know. It's interesting. The tweet reads, quote, "Word for word, this is happening in Canada now." And you started it at Justin Trudeau. Here we go.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable buildups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."
Interesting, right? I wonder what kind of examples I could come across of public newspapers paid with taxpayer dollars running stories trying to vilify a specific boogeyman, a specific villain that they've created. Where could I look for such evidence of such an obvious attack, such a thing that was laid out in 1943? And you'd think that it wasn't completely obvious. And it's conflating alt-right and white supremacy, but it's interesting that it's everywhere. If you're Faith Goldy, they label you as an alt-right personality, a right-wing personality, a white supremacist. And if you're a male politician, they do the same thing. And it doesn't matter the facts. It doesn't matter that in Alberta they were doing it to Jason Kenney, and nationally via Reuters, they do it to Mr. Bernier. They don't need evidence to make this smear. They can just say you are a man and therefore you must be a white supremacist somehow. I don't know how they make the leap. Neil Macdonald does give insight, but please don't give clicks to that garbage news article. I'll try and put a Wayback Machine link in my description. But it's interesting to watch and interesting to know the game and have it laid bare. The emperor's not wearing clothes and we know it. And it's very, very obvious. Here's an article that was published in the CBC on April 10th. And it says, "Csis dealing with right-wing extremism, quote, more and more, says spy chief." That implies that this is a big problem. Right-wing extremism. My goodness. Let's look at what they mean by right-wing extremism. And, well, we're going to do a deep dive into that. So the article says, quote, "The head of the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, Csis, says his agency is, quote, more and more preoccupied with the threat of violent right-wing extremism and white supremacists." Csis Director David Vinot told a Senate committee earlier today that his agency is very troubled by the, quote, "number of ultra-right-wing extremists active in Canada," citing a 2017 firearm attack on a Quebec mosque and a 2018 vehicle ramming attack in Toronto. I'm going to scroll down to the ramming attack. Police alleged a 26-year-old Alec Mincinian of Richmond Hill, Ontario, drove a van down a stretch of Yonge Street in Toronto on April 23, 2018, killing 10. He faces 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. After the attack, a Facebook post attributed to Mincinian started circulating online. It indicated that he may have identified as a, quote, "incel," or involuntary celibate man. The term incel has been associated with some particularly misogynistic online hate speech. So I wanted to look at what is an incel? And here's Global News to answer my question. Global News reporting on April 25th, 2018. What is an incel? Examining the rebellion praised by Toronto van attack suspect. So remember, this is right-wing extremism, according to CBC, and this gentleman giving testimony at the House for the Justice Committee, I believe, right? The head of the Canadian Csis saying right-wing extremism is a huge problem, and he cited this person, an incel, specifically as an example. I don't get how this is connected at all. At all. But here we go. Let's look at what Global News says an incel is and examine it. Because how does this have anything to do with white supremacy or right-wing extremism or political leanings at all? I don't understand it. Other than the fact that he is an incel and he committed a horrific crime, where's the association to white supremacy or right-wing extremism? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm dumb. Please do point it out in the comments. I'm willing to be wrong, to ask the question, what? Okay? Like I'm the kid in the story, the Emperor's New Clothes, who said, hey, everybody sees he's naked, right? And everybody's like, because they were all supposed to play along. But I'm the person saying, maybe I'm dumb. How does this connect? Okay, here's the article. In a Facebook post that has been taken down, Toronto van attack suspect Alec Mincinian made reference to and praised the, quote, Incel rebellion. The post read, quote, the Incel rebellion has already begun. We will overthrow all the Chads and Stacys. All hail the supreme gentleman, Elliot Rodger. I hadn't heard any, I had no idea what any of that meant at all. So I had to look it up. And by look it up, I read this article and had a quick Google around to kind of confirm that this article wasn't just garbage. And I mean, the Urban Dictionary confirmed a couple of things after some digging. But yeah, anyway, back to the article. Like, I hadn't heard anything about this. I've known nothing about this, okay? So back to the article. What is an incel? Incel is a combination of the word involuntary and celibate, and a bitter nod to the fact that men who join this movement feel they are socially, but especially sexually, rejected by women. They are misogynists who are often associated with the men's rights movement. Okay. Is that the right-wing extremist part? Because incels are often associated with men's right movements? Okay. And believe that all women are vapid and choose mates purely based on their looks. Therefore, incels see them as inferior and believe they should make themselves available to sexually gratify them. Others have linked incels with the pickup artist movement, a community that teaches men seduction techniques to have sexual success with women. Do they also talk about conservative values? Is that the right-wing part of this? Are they saying, we really should start a savings account? Sorry. But really, how does this relate at all to right-wing extremism? How does this relate at all to white supremacy? It's so insane that it just bears laughing at because it's funny. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like, are people falling for this? Because it's ridiculous. Okay, what does their terminology mean? It's a stretch, guys, but Chads are attractive men, while Stacys are women who want to be with them and not with the incels. Among all incels, agree that the world women owes them sex and that they are oppressed for being sexless men, wrote U.S. academic Ross Hanfler. Ideally, incels would be able to have access to women's body whenever, without any backlash or input from women. Is that the right-wing extremist part? The loss of control over their bodies? Is that the extrapolation here? I really don't get it. Who started Incel? The story behind the Incel movement is an unlikely one. In a months-long investigation, Elle magazine found that the founder of Incel was actually a Canadian woman. Those right-wing extremist Canadian women? Those white supremacist Canadian women? What? Yeah, but the movement's present incarnation, back to the article, couldn't be farther from what she set out to establish. A former student at Carleton University and current Toronto resident, Alana, last name withheld, said she was, quote, trying to create a movement that was open to anybody and everybody. When she was an undergrad at Carleton, Alana was distressed by the fact that she was still a virgin. She took to the internet to research sexuality, believing that she was somehow uninformed on the rules of the dating game. Through her research, she discovered a plethora of different relationship models, gay, bisexual, polyamorous, and decided she was bisexual. And blah, 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 blah. After moving to Toronto and opening herself up socially and romantically to both men and women, Alana passed the site to a stranger and never looked back until she read about Rodger and how he identified as an incel. She later told friends, like a scientist who invented something that ended up being a weapon of war, I can't uninvent this word nor restrict it to the nicer people who need it. So, again, I say, at best, you're reaching to say this is a right-wing connected attack. At worst, smearing people based on very flimsy evidence. It's really, really ridiculous. And back to this article. The article title is Csis is dealing with right-wing extremism more and more, and yet halfway through the article, a subheading is, quote, religious extremism still a main concern. Vinod said the main threat concern for intelligence and law enforcement in Canada continues to be violent extremism, often tied to religious beliefs. Traditionally, in the last number of years, we've seen that form of extremism leading to violence being people invoking religion, Islam, he said. So, now this is me. It seems really interesting to title all of these articles about white supremacy and alt-right when you have very flimsy evidence, and yet buried in the article halfway down, it's clear that one of the main concerns is Islamic extremism, Islamic terrorism. Weird, right? Isn't that strange? I'll refer you back again to the opening clip and rewatch it just in case you missed the point. But yeah, they're repeating this ad nauseum in order to make you believe that it is factual when in fact it is not. Okay, so I saw this and I thought, what? This is a really strange article title if you've been following conspiracy theories for any amount of time. And by following, I mean just reading. It's interesting. It's real world fan fiction. And sometimes it's true, right? Like Gulf of Tonkin. That was true. And that was a conspiracy theory for a very long time. And it's not a conspiracy theory that they didn't want to release the JFK files, and it was a very big deal when Trump released them or unredacted them or wanted them for public release, etc. And that kind of stuff breeds conspiracy theories. I read them just for interest's sake because they're interesting. And yeah, anyway, it's interesting. But if any part of this headline makes you raise your eyebrows, yeah, it gets weirder. Okay, so Global News is reporting on April 16th, quote, Canada joins new alliance to save the world order. And the US is not included. That seems like a bad idea. Ms. Freeland, Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland. Back to the article. Canada has formally joined a German-French coalition aimed at saving the international world order from destruction by various world dictators. And the alliance does not include the United States. The initiative is part of ongoing government efforts to shore up international cooperation at a time of waning American leadership and President Donald Trump's outspoken disdain of institutions created after the Second World War. Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland offered Canada's support for the alliance for multilateralism during a meeting of G7 foreign ministers in Dinard, France, earlier this month. She avoided any direct mention of the Trump administration, as has been her approach generally in the frequent critiques of the attacks on the world's multilateral order. Right? It really made my eyebrows kind of perk up. I was like, wow, that's really out there. That's really right in your face. And the phrase is obviously the new world order, the world order. The idea that maybe they dropped the new and they believe that they're just trying to maintain what they've got. And, that pesky Donald Trump is just kind of getting in their way. I don't know. Interesting stuff. But I wanted to let's see what the trade relationship is between, that dictator down south, Donald Trump. Right? No, he's not. Nope. He's pro-free trade, and he's offered Canada a whole bunch of positive things. Anyway, we won't get into Trump. But my point is, Canada, well, here, I'll read this from Wikipedia. In 2016, the good and service trade between the two countries totaled $627.8 billion. U.S. exports were $320 billion, while the imports were $307.6 billion. The United States has a $12.5 billion trade surplus with Canada in 2016. Canada has historically held a trade deficit with the United States in every year since 1985 in net trade of goods, excluding services. So that's, a lot of money, $300-odd billion in goods going out and $320-odd in goods coming in, or vice versa. Sorry, that's vice versa. My bad. But here's France. Here's Canada-France economic relations, and this is 2017 numbers, but that's $16.4 billion worth of goods and services, right? So that's almost half of the canola market. Yeah, right. Okay, so this is a good idea. Here's the Germany numbers, and I could just find 2012, but the Germany numbers were about the same as France, $17.9 billion in 2012. So does this make any sense, aligning ourselves not with the United States in whatever way possible? It seems like everything the Trudeau government does on foreign policy, on domestic policy, on trade, on absolutely everything, they messed up. And just like all the other things, they messed this up too. They aligned themselves with France and Germany, who have a combined trade power of, well, one quarter. I'm just doing back of the napkin math. Not even a quarter of, the United States. It doesn't make any sense at all. Please, we need to elect a government that makes sense. I have an interesting report coming up about something to do with religious extremism, but I couldn't fit it into this report, even though it would have kind of made sense. I didn't have the time to do the proper research to put it together the way I normally would want to. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. So look for that. And thank you for watching, everybody. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca, because we can't let this stand. We can't let this trash stand. And there's so much more going on that shouldn't be allowed. We need to vote. So we'll see you in October, but I will continue to be here bringing you the news from now until then. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.